two things, God and the Cats.
Welcome on in, folks. Sammy's SportsTalk coming your way. Calling Neil Luke Scott, Pod 61, and let's just. I don't want to do any thought out intro. Let's just hop straight into it. Sam Houston losing in their first home game at Shell Energy Stadium against the UNLV Rebels, led by Dan Mullen, and Luke throws the hat away. He's disappointed. He was sick pretty much these last few days, and especially heading to that game, and the Cats did not heal him with a W. They probably made him even more sick, seeing how the text came in to me as he was watching. He couldn't really catch the first, the audience, the TV audience didn't really even catch the first half of the first quarter, mostly because Army and Tarleton State went to double overtime. A good win, I will say. I'll give the props to Tarleton State. Double overtime road victory against an Army team that probably isn't going to be as good this year as they were last year. But you still saw enough, Luke, in the audience that watched it that weren't there. I was there, as a lot of y'all saw. 38-21 loss. Thoughts?
Yeah, pretty disappointing. Being down, 24-7 at halftime. Sam was just outmatched, I thought, and they played better in the second half. A couple splash plays, a huge run, a huge pass there from Mature. Also, one of the worst college football plays you might ever see there from Mr. Mature on that pick six. But just disappointed on how the team played. I think coming out of the game, starting the game, they looked okay. But, outside that, after that first touchdown drive that we barely got to see a bit of, Colin, it just wasn't pretty to me at all. Being outscored 17 straight through the second and to the third quarter, set us back quite a bit as well. And I don't know if it was just a lack of juice, but it was some mishaps, some drops, bad throws, the tackling wasn't. Would you say it was bad? No, but it was just, I don't know. We just looked outmatched.
Yeah. Well, you noted, though, that was a really good first drive in response to UNLV's quick score to begin the game. It was a good drive and ended up with Hunter Watson walking in for the touchdown, but then everything just went wrong. And here was head coach Phil Longo post-game Friday night. What went wrong after the first drive?
It was the same thing as last week. It's just individual execution. You got 10 guys doing the job, and on offense, one can cost you. And the consistency piece is the biggest part on offense right now. And I thought we didn't do a good job of sustaining drives enough in the first half. And I felt like we put the defense on the field a little bit too much. Quick thoughts on you.
Oh, that was my bad. Yeah, I think Longo makes a point about sustaining drives, and he kind of mentioned it a little bit more when asked about. He was asking about whether he was asked about whether they were going to have to win against UNLV in the shootout. But I want to play this real quick before I get your thoughts, Luke, about sustainable drives, because then Longo went on about the tempo and how they slowed down a little bit in the second half.
No, and I don't ever look at it that way. Over the years, we've had a lot of those games because we've been very explosive at times on offense, and so that promotes some high scoring deals. But we actually want to manage the clock. We don't want to put the defense on the field more than they have to be. We actually tempoed down a good part of the game tonight just to try to manage the clock and manage the game. We are and have been known for our tempo for a long time. That doesn't necessarily mean that's going to be a tremendous characteristic of this team. This team, we're going to continue to try to figure out who we are. We're going to continue to focus on the strengths here. And if that means time management, game management, and relying on running the football for a particular game, we'll do it. We were selectively in tempo tonight just to try to gain a little bit of an advantage. It'll be interesting to see. I'm looking here at the time of possession, 29 to 30 minutes, so it's fairly equal. I think if the play count on defense is going to be considerably higher than it is on offense, we'll investigate that, because we want to make sure that each side is fairly equal, and we want to play complementary football. Sorry.
Thoughts, Luke, on the kind of just again on the offensive performance, what you heard from Longo about having trouble sustaining drives, and like you said at the end, defense being out there on much more plays than the offense, because like you said, it was a fairly even when it came to time of possession, but that doesn't really tell the whole story.
Yeah, and when he also talks about the complementary football, and your defense playing with your offense and how the two combine right together, you know, UNLV, they scored, I think it was almost every drive in that first half, right? Um,
Yeah, they did not
and
punt until the third quarter.
right, so that sets your offense back in multiple ways. First of all, you can't get into a rhythm because you're sitting on the bench for however long, and your defense is getting scored on, so you can't really build any momentum, because obviously when the other team scores every drive, you're not able to kind of compound on what you have made before, right? I mean, look at last night. Well, I guess a couple nights ago when people are listening to this, with like UNC and TCU. UNC, great first drive, couldn't do anything afterwards, and the offense was just kind of left sputtering. At the same time, the defense couldn't get a stop, right? UNC's defense could not buy a stop. It was the same. It was a very similar situation with Sam Houston scoring that first drive, and then them not being able to get a stop to try to enable the offense to get back on the field or create a turnover or anything. That sets the offense back in a way a bit. But also, it's like when the offense was out there, I thought we were able to move the ball a little bit better at times, but then drives would sputter out, and it's kind of like um, what Coach Longo is talking about. That playing with consistency, being balanced. It's hard to do that whenever you're playing from behind so quickly, in such an immediate, timing, right? I mean, the first quarter, you're down by, you know, a score, and then you're down by two or three possessions in the second quarter, like out of nowhere, right? So I think what he's saying is right. It's going to be hard to kind of convey that, because how do you practice consistency, right? You just have to get better. So, um, yeah, it was just, I think playing complementary football, it's going to be hard this year, just with the defense not being at its best.
Do you think that we should now probably expect Longo to, I don't know, hold back on being so fast tempo at first? Do you think that maybe they should slow it down a little bit, even if it's because here's the thing, they're going tempo, so they're not switching anybody out, and if they don't switch anybody out substituting wise, then the defense can't substitute because they're going so quickly. Um, but do you think that maybe they should at least at first slow things down just a little bit, just to kind of sustain drives and have quality drives, and not just, I mean, again, the time of possession was equal, Luke, but it just felt like it didn't even feel like it, to be honest with you. It didn't feel like that 50-50 because of how bad the drives were. So do you think that they should start slowing things down a little bit at the beginning at least, and then once they start get going, then pace it up a little bit more?
Yeah, I don't know, because it's like, you want to go fast, and obviously that's what Coach Longo has done his entire career, and I think that's what he's preaching, and that's what he wants to build. At the same time, you know, what good does it do to you if your defense gives up a touchdown and you go a quick 3 and out, in less than a minute,
Yeah.
um, and your defense is right back on the field, right? And that's where you talk about complementary football. That's when you need to come through, but I don't want to just bail on the playing fast right away, because I mean it's also been two very good opponents. I mean, you're looking at the conference favorite in West Kentucky. They're in Bowling Green, right, in week 0, and then week 1, UNLV, a perennial Mountain West contender. I mean, we're not playing, Prairie View, right? So not to take a shot at Prairie View, but you know what I mean. It's like it's that type of thing. So
Yeah.
I would say stick with it. I mean, you have to make some sort of adjustments, though. I mean, I don't know if that's whether personnel or just slow it down a little bit, maybe so. But um, there also have been like at times where it looks really good, right? Whenever we're able to run through the between the tackles and you make a guy miss, and you're able to string a couple runs together. We just haven't seen that as much as we had seen like last year, for instance. So it's I don't know. I wouldn't say bail on it right away, but maybe instead of being in gear 6, maybe throw it back to 4, right? And try to maybe just play a little bit smoother, maybe if that's a good way to put it.
Yeah. Well, the big storyline you talk about adjustments. Well, there was an adjustment made in the middle of the second quarter where Maben Ratoyer made his season debut. Well, I'll just let Longo explain. He because there was also a very interesting nugget for the previous matchup against WKU, what they planned on with the quarterbacks.
I actually planned to play both of them last week. We thought Hunter was doing a good job. He was making some plays with his legs. He kept us in some drives. And I just didn't feel like it was the right time to make a move. And so Hunter wound up playing the entire game. So we came into this game here with the plan to play both of them again. Initially, it was injury driven, but you would have seen Mabry either way. And so we got some legitimate time to evaluate the two of them. Both of them had pluses and minuses. I thought Mabry sparked us a little bit there in the second half after a rough start. A pick 6 on your first drive of your college career is not a great deal, but that's what happens. That's part of this process. You got to settle him in. You got to give him an opportunity to go compete. And so we got a little bit out of him to evaluate for next week, and we'll continue to use the two of them as we feel like they can help the team.
And then here was Longo at Tuesday's press conference on both quarterbacks.
They both need to prepare to start every week, and they need to be ready to play, whether they're out there on the first play or they take over halfway through the second quarter. Whatever the situation is, we need them both to prepare like starters, and we actually challenged Landon Locke to do the same thing. But those top two guys are getting the most reps, and so that's going to be our approach moving forward until one of them separates himself from the other. And if they're both productive, I'll play both of them. In 2014, while we were here, 2015, I needed to do that also. The 2014, our quarterback was the conference player of the year, and then JJ, and then we come back in 15, and Jeremiah Briscoe comes on to the scene, and he plays well, and so we wound up playing both of them. And then in 16, it's all Briscoe, and he's the conference player of the year. So you've got a situation where we want to use all our weapons. If we have two weapons at quarterback, then we plan on using them both. And just like any other position, if you've got somebody there with a hot hand, we're going to roll with them for a while. So that'll be the approach, I think, just about the rest of the season.
I'll let you go ahead.
Well, Colin, what do you think? Because when I hear using two quarterbacks in a year, Keeler was very against that, right?
Yeah.
I mean, he wants his guy to be confident, and now you hear Longo just a year later and say, "No, we're ready for this."
Look, I brought this up before. I know it was a conspiracy theory at the time, but I honestly legitimately thought that he was going to do a 2 QB system, or not 2 QB system, but like play 2 QBs equally, depending on what their strength was, what they wanted to try to do in a certain situation or whatever. Back what he did, what he mentioned in 2015 with Jeremiah Briscoe and Jared Johnson, who was JJ, who he was referencing right there. And it worked pretty well. The offense went off almost every single week, especially what they did against Texas Tech that year, against a at the time Division 1A opponent. I don't know, Luke. I kind of want to see that now. It's only been 2 games. It's a very, very big adjustment, but it's kind of clear at this point. Like, hey, in my opinion, Watson has become a bit of a better thrower, in my opinion, especially with his new mechanics. especially with the way he's a bit better at throwing footballs down the field. Um, you mentioned earlier he did miss a few throws which hurt quite a bit, especially on that fourth down try. A third down try where it was a flat screen throw. It was a flat route throw to Malik Phillips. It was a little behind him at his knees while falling back. I mean, Malik Phillips probably says like, "Hey, I probably should have caught that," but Watson probably should have made a better throw. In my opinion, it's one of those throws like that should be zooming right to a wide receiver's chest or head or whatever. But Mabry though, Mabry can't really is not really as mobile of a quarterback as Watson is, obviously, but he by far has the better arm. I mean, we've seen him make a couple of good throws out there in garbage time. So it's hard to say to absolutely change your strategy in 2 weeks in, two games in against two really good opponents, and you have an interesting test against Hawaii. I don't know. I think it's going to depend on what they do in practice. I mean, he said in the press conference today that Tuesday morning's practice was really great, which I haven't heard him compliment a practicing at all this season. Yeah, it's just something's got to change, and I feel like they really need to see like both quarterbacks, depending on what they want to do. Watson's a hell of a runner, and Mabry's is a good thrower of the football. And I think you want to try to get the best of both worlds.
Yeah, it's tough because you dance with the cat that brought you, right? And Hunter Watson, obviously last year was and not it wasn't pretty every time, but you got the job done. Doing what we did,
Yeah.
and this year, like you said, like I think the throwing looks a little bit better, but still, it's not pretty. No question about what he can do with the running. I mean, when he's lowers his head and takes off with it. There's no question that the production's there. But I mean, it's with the way I don't know. I haven't been too much impressed with Hunter so far this year. Mature, I don't know. Like you said, like the one like that first drive that was really bad.
He had
to be
he had
rebounding
the
after
running
that,
back open in the
yeah,
flat as well as a check down. And literally to his
yeah,
right.
he was just going for something. I mean, he was just ripping it, and it didn't work. Um, Gosh, Colin, I don't know because am I sold on Mature right now? No, I'm not sold on Watson either. So you're just gonna, I mean, you're between a rock and a hard place, right? And I think with the offense that Longo wants to run stylistically, I think we all know it's Mature's more of the fit. The problem is that he doesn't give you any, or not much. Not that he can't, but it's just that the output with Hunter Watson's running ability is just so much. There's substance there, right? We know what it is. It is interesting he said that Watson was injured.
Yeah, he got banged up a little bit on that drive before Matoria. He said that he got hit, or no, it was the third. It was actually the third or fourth quarter where Matoria got a majority of the garbage time. Watson he got freaking crushed, or he got ripped down and hit, and then he just looked shaken up. I believe it was the fourth quarter, but the second quarter, where he got taken out for Matoria, it was just the fact that he just had a very rough drive, like all facets. So I swear he just couldn't execute it properly, and we saw it happen last year, Luke, with Hunter, where in the UCF game where Jay Spower was put in from halfway in the third quarter of that game to the rest of the game, and with Hunter just watching from the sideline. And guess what, Luke? What happened after that? Hunter performed much better afterwards until he got hurt.
Yeah.
And so maybe this lets a bit of a fire under Hunter Watson. Like, hey, my job isn't safe. Like, I got to work for it. So maybe it makes Hunter lock in a little bit more. I will say this though. I the first thing that they really have to hash out, Luke, is that offensive line. There's a couple of guys along that line that played better, but Luke, that left side did not perform well again. Longo actually shifted around the O-line. I didn't realize that it wasn't just because they wanted to. It was just more injury design. But he said this about shifting the offensive line.
Well, the shuffle on the O-line wasn't by design. The shuffle on the O-line was that was injury driven as well. And so we didn't have anything serious happen. But we had some guys a little lumped up here and there. And so we have, we rep our ones and our twos equally in practice every single day because at some point you're going to need those guys. And tonight we needed 3 of them. So I think Grayson Jackson Spann saw some time. We had Rhett Larson move to center. We had Will McDonald out there. We had Will McCollum out there and a few others. So it was an opportunity now to evaluate 3 or 4 guys, and we needed them. And a couple of them went out there and did a pretty good job. And so, it was under duress. It wasn't mop-up duty, And so this is, again, it's part of the process. We'd love to have 8 every game that we could roll through and keep them fresh. And so it wasn't the way we planned it, but at least we got the work, and we'll be able to move ahead from here.
I think that they need to change a few things. I know it's been 2 games, so it's not necessarily the biggest sample size in the world, but it's 2 games in a row where the left side just did not look good. And some of the runs got some plays these past 2 weeks have gotten blown up where they had really good designs to where it's because the left side just got manhandled. And I'm not trying, and I hope, by the way, that and it's been a Joseph and Eckert at left tackle and a Joseph on the left guard. I hope they prove me wrong and perform really well against Hawaii because I think that they're going to still stick with the same 5 out there. I thought Colt Diederich performed way better. He honestly looked not just, statistically on the analytics side of things, but also when I was watching the game film back, and I remember thinking in my head as I was watching, like, hey, Diederich looks much better out there. He didn't look slow. He actually looked much more fluid, flowy. I thought he looked much better. And then you had Larson move from center. The one thing about PFF I really don't like, Luke, is that the fact that it doesn't grade specifically on what position they are. So I can't see how Rhett analytically did against at center against UNLV. But I thought he looked all right. I thought he looked pretty all right. It's a small sample size, but I thought he looked all right. Then you put William McCollum at right guard. I thought he played really well for the snaps that he got. I believe it was like 30 snaps that he was able to get. Luke, I'll give you some time to pull it up, but I wanted to go ahead and just show the PFF grades real quick. Y'all can see on y'all's screen if you're tuning in on YouTube. For the those listening on audio, you can see that Diederich was the best performing analytically. And William McCollum, 38 snaps, by the way. I corrected myself. He was the second best performing offensive lineman at 66.4, which is a bit above average. His pass blocking was really good. Didn't really get much opportunities on the run blocking side of things. I don't know if you have it pulled up, Luke, but you can see Joseph and Eckert down there, 52.2 for Eckert and 47.6 for Joseph. And I thought it reflected well. It reflected pretty much on film the same way. Larson improved, still below average, but improved. But everything starts up front, Luke. It's what I've always said. And I don't know if they need to change something or not, but I just feel like if they keep performing bad that left side, they need to try a new shuffle or something. They need to try something different.
Well, at the New Orleans Bowl, whenever we talked to Coach Longo, he asked, what does this team, what you were talking about, like what the current state of the team was, and what we thought, to keep this up, what did this team need? And I remember I told him, I said, our offensive line has to be as good, if not better, because last year when we were running the ball, punishing dudes left and right, and this year we just haven't had that, right? Of course, like there's some different guys, right, that are playing. Still some of the same, but also some key missing guys. And I remember I told him, I said, our offensive line has to be, you have to punish people because for games, you got to run the ball and you have to block, right? You have to do the simple little things to win games. And this year, like you said, in this past game is the perfect example of it. That right side. I mean, you know, Dietrich looked pretty good, I thought, right? And I don't know, it just wasn't pretty over there, dude. I mean, Eckert looked slow again. Um, I wasn't really I couldn't really take I wasn't really looking at Joseph as much in the guards. I was looking on the edges. That's because of what we see, from the cameras and whatnot. But just slow, man.
Yeah, Grayson Jackson Smith got some time. I'm not really going to take this 6 snaps for granted because that is just too small of a sample size. Um,
He
I,
gave up a sack though, didn't he?
he gave. I don't remember if he did or not. I have to go back and look, but he filled in at right tackle because Dietrich actually he got a little bit nicked up a little bit, but
Yeah.
then Dietrich came back in. So I think I've before I go on a little bit of a thing, I want to ask you: do you think they should move? If I were to shuffle it up a little bit, this would be my line real quick. Left tackle and left guard wise, I would move Dietrich and Larson back there. I don't really like putting them back, switching them over to the right side when they had played a majority of their games last year at left tackle and left guards, respectively, Dietrich and Larson. You put Sohn or you keep Todd in there if he's I think he got nicked up as well. Don't know how serious it is for him, but maybe if he is still serious, maybe you put Isaac Sohn in there, and then right guard you put William McCollum. Then at right tackle you put Quentin Williams, the Louisiana transfer. If that's kind of how I think maybe the old line could look at some point if things don't change. But you seem to not be a big fan of moving Larson and Dietrich back to the left side.
I don't know. I just don't like moving when a guy's playing well in one spot. You know, I mean, playing on the right side and playing on the left side, it's completely different, right? I mean, just is.
Yeah.
You see that. We as a Cowboy fan and people listening
Uh,
as Cowboy fans know Tyler Guyton was a all conference right tackle. He moves to left tackle his rookie season and he looks awful, right? So I just don't like the thought process of moving Colt Dietrich and McCall. I mean, they're playing well together on the right side. I think you keep them.
yeah.
You keep them there, and
Um,
and you have to just figure it out.
yeah.
And hopefully you can get
We all forgot
hopefully you
to.
can get James Don back.
Yeah, that's exactly where I was getting at too. It's like one thing we still have
Like,
not figured out is like what is going on exactly with James Don the second. I'm 1,000% sure that it's a leg issue because whenever and long and we weren't we were told not to like talk about injuries in practice and in fall camp. We obviously as media respected the requests, but I feel like at this point now since James Don the second is you know hurt not participating and not participating in games. The times I saw him in warm ups and practice, he's had a leg brace on. I can't remember which leg it was, but I remember him having a leg brace. I think it was on this. I don't remember. But so no telling how long he's out for. And at this point, Luke, he has a medical red shirt if they so desire. But if you can't get him back soon, you have to kind of have to think about the long game at this point.
yeah, you're missing your leader up there too, right? Like
Yeah,
he's the leader of the team of the offensive line.
exactly.
Um, one of the captains. So it's like you're missing your guy. That hurts, right? Because he's also like an all conference type player that you're missing. So I don't know, but when you have a combination working well, in a spot. I don't like splitting them up. But that being said, the tackle spot, I think you gotta, if you can be strong in the middle, I think that would help Watson a ton. If you can be strong between the tackles, guard, center, guard, that helps. And I don't know, when we run the ball, I don't know if it's necessarily a lot of zone. I don't think it's a lot of zone schemes. I think it's more just man up and get your guy, and that's where it's kind of been the issue. So I don't know. It's
Yeah,
offensive line's tough, man.
it
It's
is.
tough because it's a combination, right? Your five guys, you could have a better, you could be better in spots, right? In certain spots, but if your five guys don't work well together, it doesn't work, and you're missing a leader in the middle. You know, I think Dom can come back. I think he'd either play that left guard or he could play center. I know we've it's water under the bridge at this point, I guess, that he's been playing center or warming up and practicing as a center, but we know the guy can play guard. But I just it it's also so early. It's still too early to tell. I mean, both games, the Cats have been at least 10-point dogs, right? So
Yeah. Well,
give them a break, I think, for now.
yeah, we're gonna kind of hold off on talking about Hawaii for now. But I do want to get to the other side of the ball, the defense. Um, there was again just having having issues pressuring the quarterback gave Calandria plenty of time, but sometimes though the DBs kind of got burnt again in zone coverage, and there was a couple of occasions where again they just were too focused. They got too aggressive and just just didn't cover the zones that they should be. But we do,
Busted coverage.
yeah, busted coverage. But we do have some bright spots. The Longo I forgot to get that. I should have gotten that cut, but he apparently said that they saw some things on defense where some guys are going to have elevated roles. So we could see some other guys get playing time. One guy that got playing time I thought performed really well was I believe this is Southeastern Missouri transfer. I think that is him. Octavius Henderson, number 36. I thought he performed pretty well for the Bearcats in his time out there. 16 snaps. That's not a good sample size whatsoever, but he might get some more looks out there at corner because I thought, Simo, I thought he looked pretty decent out there for the secondary. Antavius Fish did not have a good game. CJ Johnson also didn't really have as good of a game as we know he could. One guy on defense I said that's been our best player so far. Also, by the way, he said that he did say in his Tuesday presser that Tokyo Gordon might be getting more looks as well. I thought he's been 2 games in a row. These first 2 games he's performed well, but the guy that's been standing out for me, Luke, and PFF agrees with me, it's Jameer Diaz. I thought he has 9 pressures so far this year. He has no sacks, but he's getting to the quarterback at a pretty good rate. An 87 grade on the defensive side from PFF. But what'd you see out the defense real quick before we move on and kind of wrap this up?
Yeah, it's kind of what you said. I don't think. Well, I don't think UNLV played like. Did you think they were like completely outmatched us defensively? I think we just kind of beat ourselves kind of in that way. I mean, I didn't think they just didn't impress me. They put up 38 points, which that's good. I mean, it's really good. But did they really impress you? I don't know. It was more of a slow death, I think, for the defense. I mean, it was just drives, right?
I mean, it's let me preface this way, Luke, and this is kind of formulating into a question. and it kind of relates in this way. Bear with me for a moment. Like C.J. Gardner-Johnson, who the Texans just got in a trade, he talked about how he's working on trying to not be too aggressive out there as that safety out there, and just not try to always go for the kill, or not always trying to go for the big play. And I feel like sometimes on the Sam Houston side of things, on the DBs, they get too aggressive because they want to try to go for the big play, and it exposes them. And we saw that against WKU and UNLV, where they missed tackles that they shouldn't have, that caused the extra yards to be gained by whoever was carrying the ball for the Rebels. I think, and you can impede on this a little bit. Do you think that I think that they need to be playing a little less aggressive, because I think they are. I think they have athletes on the team. I think the Sam Houston defense has athletes. It has talent, and I think they have enough of it to where if they need to adjust from their specific assignment, they can adjust. I don't know. It was just kind of I kind of want your thoughts on that, because I think they're being just a little too aggressive out there.
Yeah, taking some risk. I think, like you said, it did burn him a couple times. It is an issue whenever your two of your leading tacklers, your two leading tacklers of this game was Iman Allen and C.J. Brown, both secondary guys, right? That's a little bit of an issue. Where like your guys that need to be tackling are in the front seven, but instead they're in the back. It's interesting you talk about taking risk. Who do you think? I mean, what do you have a player in mind that just taking way too many risks, or?
I don't think it's one specific player as a whole. I think it's a whole defensive thing. I just feel like sometimes,
like a unit type.
Yeah, I think it. And I'm not sitting here saying like, oh, just don't be aggressive at all. Like there's cause for being aggressive, and there's cause for being laid back and pessimistic a little bit. It's just I think they need to find that fine line to where, because again, I think they're athletes out there. I think like actual athletes, and I think they have talent to again adjust when they need to, when things are outside of their assignment a little bit. Like, because sometimes there's plays that the offense throws at you that goes against your coverage as a whole, and I don't know. It's
is it being aggressive, or is it just guys being open?
Well, if you
know what I mean?
on that first touchdown for UNLV, I mean, Joe Swin got absolutely burnt. Like, just and again, it happens. Like, receivers are going to get open no matter what kind of defense you are. There's always going to be open spaces, but I just feel like sometimes they get a little too antsy, and I think they need to find that fine line.
I mean, like, that's what I'm saying. Like, if guys are open, guys are open. Like, it's it's. I mean, you got to be better, right?
There was too many explosive plays that they gave up against UNLV that just that either scored touchdowns or led up to touchdowns. If they can cut down the explosive plays, I think this defense I think their lives would be much better. Obviously.
Yeah, it's on first down and third down. Third down, couldn't get off the field again. And also, like, Calandria was, I mean, he was hitting wide open guys. That's why he was 19 for 23.
Yeah.
Right. And we weren't able to really get, and part of it was, the pass rush, like you said, it wasn't great. Right. I mean, when you're giving the guy time to pass, like, guys are going to get open at the same time. Like, the two units, the front and the back, can have to work together in that way. And it's not there yet. It's not there. I think it can. I think we do have guys that, that can make plays, like, but it's just disappointing.
Yeah, well, I could be wrong. I am sort of an idiot. I could be wrong in my evaluation on the defense. Just to kind of wrap things up a little bit, there was just one glaring, obvious negative mark about Friday night. And I'll let, and Longo talked about in his opening statement to lead things off. I'll let him explain it.
Quick thoughts on UNLV. I'd say it was, I think we were intending and expecting it to feel like a home game. But from the travel and the the logistics and everything and playing in the stadium for the first time, it wasn't quite that way. So we're understanding now this is truthfully going to be and feel like a 12 away game season, and we have to kind of deal with it that way. As far as UNLV, they were ready to play.
It's a 2.5 minute long cut that goes on about everything else. I'll play the rest of it later, or probably never, but I because the first part of that was the point I was trying to get at, dude. Like, the crowd was it was disappointing. And I get it, sort of, in a way, maybe, kind of. Astros game going on that night, opening night of Friday night lights for a lot of high schools around in Texas. 3, holiday weekend, I suppose. I heard that excuse. I don't know how much of a valid thing it is, really. 4, 8:30 p.m. in downtown Houston. But Luke, I just can't help but think that crowd could have been so much better. It was fairly disappointing in my eyes.
It was awful. It's harder to tell, like when you're watching it on the TV or whatnot, but when you're in person, a crowd when you see it, and it just didn't come over at all on the TV. You saw a lot of orange, but it weren't people; they were seats. And it's also frustrating when the next night or two after you see Texas Southern play and it's packed, right? It's like,
Oh my gosh,
really?
yeah.
You know what I mean?
And hold on,
It's disappointing.
Some context though. It was a rivalry game. It was Texas Southern against Prairie View A&M. But Luke, just look at how much they care. Like, can we just find a way to get people to give a damn? Like, and I understand, like, the student attendance is not going to be as it has been in years past, because there's students that do stay in town in Huntsville, but there's also students that also go home for a weekend out of the month, or 2 weekends out of the month, that don't stay up in Huntsville. That a majority of our alumni base is in Houston. And Luke, I'm gonna go on a bit of a rant, and look, first of all, I don't want to be negative all the time. I really don't want to be negative, because I started this whole podcast with you, Luke. I started this whole thing because I want to talk about mostly ball. I want to talk about ball. I love analyzing. I love talking about what I've seen on the field. I love just going back and watching film and analyzing, whether it's from baseball, football, soccer, softball, football, men's and women's basketball, whatever it is. I just love talking about ball. But I'm gonna sit here and say this real quick, Luke. There's something that really needs to rightfully so. There's things that Sam Houston has, and I'm probably gonna catch a lot of flack for this. I really don't care, because it really needs to be said. But there's just certain things that has been fumbled that just should not be fumbled. And people were rightfully upset. People were rightfully calling out the things that they saw. Luke, I never heard of a single radio ad, never seen a single billboard that says, like, hey, Sam Houston alum, your Bearcats are playing right here in downtown Houston, so you don't have to drive an hour and a half or an hour 45 or 2 hours if you account for the Houston traffic to go up to Huntsville, Texas to see your Bearcats. Like, I just felt like it wasn't advertised enough. I just feel like it could have been so much better overall. And there's a couple of other things that I just can criticize it all. But Luke, something needs to change, and I feel like that people are going to attend games next year because of the new press box and they want to see it, especially that home opener against Tulsa in week 2 of college football. But I just want people to give a damn about Bearcat sports, and I'm speaking now from an alum and fan perspective. I've thrown the objective part of my analysis and in talk in sports talk out the window for this time because I'm only going to do this once. I just don't really know what else to say now after that because I do want things to get better. I do want alum to start pouring in money to the programs, not just football, but also all the other programs to really bolster the athletic brand and profile because it is what makes it is a good part in what makes the university money outside of tuition and other things. And it also helps build the brand. It also helps build school spirit. The school spirit has to get better. I don't. It has to get better when it revolves around athletics. That if we can get people out to football games at home, for instance, like that many people, how are we not doing that for an example, men's basketball? And men's basketball has a highly anticipated season coming up, and I really think that they need to be like at least getting at least 1,000 or 2,000 for men's basketball for almost every home game if possible. If
volleyball, same thing, right?
volleyball too. Like imagine a Johnson Coliseum with 1,000 people at least and playing volleyball. It would be absolutely intense, Luke. Do giveaways. Do some pregame giveaways. I don't know. I'm just saying that I'm not trying to overreach. This was just one game, and maybe the attendance will be much better when the other four home games come out. But Luke, it is Longo said it right there. It is absolutely deflating a bit to go out there and not see a good crowd. Maybe they shouldn't let that get to them.
Yep.
I don't know. It's just deflating, and things just need to find a way to get better. I love my Bearcats. I will always cheer them on. I will always support them, no matter what. I never had a specific college to cheer on growing up, but I decided to go to Sam Houston, and I immediately just supported the Athletics, just point blank because I went there. And I want things to get better, especially since football is now FBS. When I started going, Luke, and when you started going, Luke, we were FCS, and now we're FBS. We have a bit higher expectations. And we can go on for hours talking about how they can raise money. I have a couple of ideas. How they can improve their funds, how they can improve attendance. I have a couple of ideas in that area as well. How they can better build upon traditions and maybe make new ones. Again, I have a couple of ideas there as well. And I want to save that for one day, maybe when the athletics year is over, what I want to see. But Luke, that's all I'm really going to say because I don't want to accidentally say something. I don't want to say something that could be out of line. There's some things that it's for the athletics department that is completely out of their control, but things need to get better if Sam Houston wants to thrive.
Dr. White needs to take some control in that too. At some point, right? We've been talking about this since we started. We've been talking about this since we were on 90.5 and trying to get school spirit up and trying to promote these athletes, promote the teams, promote our school. And people are just not showing up. I think at some point, like someone's got to take some blame here and try to fix something. And I know it's only temporary right now. Being in Houston for that one season, but in ways you got to take advantage of being there, right? And you say like advertising, like throw it to billboards, and the school can say whatever. Oh, it's expensive and it's only for 1 year. Come on, you're a state university. You have money. Like, let's not.
And
we're better than that.
You could
right?
say
I get it if you were LeTourneau, right? D3 school, right, or something like that, right? Not to throw any shade at LeTourneau because LeTourneau's a fun school and they're great and all, but it's like, when you're going up and down Interstate 35, going through Brown Rock, Georgetown, Temple, Belton, Waco, all that. You don't just see Baylor University promoting. You'll see University of Texas. You'll see SMU. You'll see Mary Hardin Baylor, who's a D3 school who takes football very seriously. Obviously, they win a ton of national championships in Division III. You see schools promoting themselves up and down that interstate. Hello, Interstate 45 going right through Sam Houston. You don't really see much of anything, do you?
You don't
Right? I
see
mean, you see
anything.
Sam Houston's the statue, but that's about it. So, but it's also like you got to think of it. You got to think of it as a program as sales, right? You're only going to get out what you put into it, right? And it's exactly what Coach Keeler was talking about, in that article and what was
And
what
yeah,
was released, right?
that is also a catalyst. Besides what Longo said, that article was also a catalyst. He said it plainly, Luke, that Bobby Williams, athletics director, said like, hey, you're gonna get upset, you're gonna get really frustrated at some point, so you might as well go and look. And I don't think Keeler honestly wanted to go out and look. I think he wanted to probably stay, despite what we've heard. And yes, the press box renovations
Temple won, by the way.
The press box renovations doesn't help. It's $60 million. The school has to find a way to pay it out. And Luke, guess what? This could be a bit easier if they find unique ways to raise money. Whether it's, and I'm about to spill the ideas here, a stadium sponsor, maybe a field sponsor, or I don't know, sponsor some other things, as get sponsors for other things as well. They'll hop on that really quickly, Luke, because they want to put their brand out. And they don't really, and look at what Texas State did. Look at Louisiana Tech, what they did. They got a field sponsor, and to raise money. I'm not saying it as like it's easier said than done, but I just feel like what these past few months have shown is that Sam Houston right now is a little vulnerable. It's going to be a bit of a rough trend. Besides advertising, Luke, this whole thing playing in Houston is such a unique opportunity. You're going to have to spend money to make money, and you need to really find a way to reconnect a little bit better with the alumni. The Longo hire brought some people back, and the donations have rose because of that. But there's so many other alumni out there, Luke, that are pretty wealthy and that can afford to donate a few dollars for in a way. And there's a lot more Sam Houston alumni than people think. Sam Houston State University is one of the most popular attended.
It's a major university.
Yeah, it's a higher education university. And plus, you also have a very big student base. So I'm just gonna leave it on this note that things just need to get better. I hope that, and I have some faith that things are being talked about and getting worked on. But I hope they're at least talking about the ideas that I've proposed. And I'm gonna end the negativity on that, because I don't want to be always negative. Because I want to be positive about my Bearcats, because I really do care. And now the objective part of me talking Sam Houston sports is back.
Want to take a break?
No, I think this podcast is 53 minutes already, so we need to take a break. I'll wrap this thing up by saying this: hey, just cheer on your Bearcats wherever you can. Not just football, volleyball, soccer as well. Men's and women's basketball are very soon. They'll be here before you know it. Crossover season is going to be here, folks. So you better get ready. Saturday, Sam Houston football takes on Hawaii, 11 p.m. Central Time. Hawaii, all of a sudden, Luke, is only a 6.5 point favorite. We'll talk about that at some point later on in the week when we have our Hawaii preview podcast that's coming out soon. Also, you have volleyball going to, I believe they are going to SFA this weekend. They'll face 3. Sam Houston soccer begins a 4-game stretch on their schedule, where four road game stretch where they face GCU at GCU on Thursday. And then on Sunday, they will face whoever it is. SMU, that's right. They're going to be in Dallas. Yes, so they're going to the SFA tournament. They'll face Abilene Christian, Louisiana on Friday, and then on Saturday they'll face the host school, Stephen F. Austin. I think that's going to be on ESPN Plus. So, anyway, Luke, just your final thoughts before we wrap things up. Just any thoughts of what I said, because I feel like I'm going to catch some flack for what I said, but honestly, I don't want.
I think you're justified in what you were saying. I mean, it's frustrating. You know, it is what it is, and like you said, like it's such a good opportunity to play in front of your alumni base who's right down the road, and maybe potential students or families, that want to go catch a college football game. It's at a school. I mean, it's an opportunity there to play in front of such a. It's the same group of people, but it's also like a little bit of a different audience as well, and one game in, you haven't made the most of it at all, right? I mean, so
And
it's
I
frustrating, but
want to preface this real quick. I want people to know that there are people in the athletics department that are really good at what they do, and they care. And I don't know whether, and honestly, it's opened up some questions on. We can point all day on whose fault it is. I don't want to point fingers right now exactly, Luke. I just want to say that there has to be some unity between the department and the university to make things better. There are people, Luke, that do care, that are good at their jobs.
of course.
And I just want my goal in doing this with you, Luke, Sammy's the Sports Talk, is to not just cover Bearcat sports and talk about it. It's to also, in our own way, help promote Sam Houston athletics and Sam Houston State University as well. And we don't just want people to go out there and watch sports as well. We also want people to do well in their academics, and then when they do graduate, they become alum. They still cheer on Sam Houston athletics, and I want them to do that. But again, I'm not going to mention it ever again for now. I just wanted to get that out there because I just feel like I can't. I'm not turning a blind eye. I've not been turning a blind eye. I'm not blind. I've seen what's been said. I've seen what's been going on, but hopefully things get better, and I do want things to get better.
I think that's a good way to end it there.
Yeah. So, but yeah, so hey, please subscribe if you haven't already. Follow us on all of our social media outlets.
Please support the Bearcats.
Follow us on Spotify as well if you're listening on the audio only, or if you want an audio only option, go ahead and look us up on Spotify. Follow us over there as well. But guys, thanks again for watching, listening, however you're consuming this. As always, eat 'em up, Cats, and a very big game coming this weekend against Hawaii. Keep an eye out for the preview pod for that coming up later this week as well. Eat 'em up, Cats. Have a good rest of your week. Just glad overall that college football is back, honestly, because that's been a piece that's been missing in all of our lives. As always, eat 'em up, Cats.